We good? Oh. Riot Games made the wrong decision in canceling their sponsorship with NEOM, but not for the reasons you might think. Oh, just a little short. Hi, I'm Ben Feferman, and welcome to Esports Unfiltered, where every week we are going to break down the stories and scandals in the esports industry. It's been a very, very long hiatus, and it feels great to be back delivering all the great news and analysis that you probably didn't need to see. On July 29th, Riot Games announced that NEOM would be the main partner for the summer split of the LEC, which is the big European event for League of Legends. Now, NEOM is a futuristic planned city with crazy technology, sustainability. Sounds amazing, right? Great fit for a corporate sponsor. Wrong, because it's in Saudi Arabia. Instantly, there was backlash from Riot Games and the League of Legends community. And within 24 hours, Riot Games reversed the decision and canceled the sponsorship. The really important issue, which I want to discuss, is consistency and how we create guidelines so this doesn't happen again. Everyone, and I mean everyone, loves to harp on Twitch for their inconsistencies in their terms of service.
Am I the only one around here who gives a shit about the rules?
You know, this person shows a nipple and gets this type of ban. Some streamers get banned for this and they don't, and double standard. Everyone is upset at Twitch. And what's the reason? Twitch has every right to have their own terms of service and enforce their own rules and regulations. But when they're not consistent, the integrity of the entire system is in jeopardy. So let's bring this back to the NEOM sponsorship, and hopefully we can understand some sort of community guidelines here. After looking through so many tweets and twit-longs of people who are upset about the partnership, I was really able to sort of break all the anger down into four main issues. Number one, country of origin. Saudi Arabia has one of the worst records towards the LGBTQ community. Number two, NEOM can't be separated from the government. So if you were to say, well, it's not the Saudi Arabian policy, NEOM is a separate entity, you can't really say that because the company is founded or funded or really totally entwined with the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. We can't say that NEOM doesn't represent the values of the country. Number three, NEOM is promoting tourism to a place that essentially is excluding people from participating. And even though maybe technically they could participate, they would still be living in fear of persecution. Lastly, Mohammed bin Salman, the Saudi Crown Prince, is largely believed to be responsible for the death and the murder of a Saudi dissident, Washington Post correspondent Jamal Khashoggi. Even though this has not been proven in court, there are many reports from foreign service intelligence agencies that have him either directly responsible or at the very least indirectly responsible for his murder. So when you add up all four, there are so many reasons why this partnership doesn't make any sense. And we can kind of understand where Riot is coming from and the outrage to say that, hey, this doesn't really fit the values of Riot Games or the League of Legends community. When you add it all up, you can see there's a lot of issues with this sponsorship, but let's try to analyze each one and hopefully we can draw some guidelines from this. So Saudi Arabia has one of the worst records towards the LGBTQ community. If that's a reason in and of itself to bar sponsorship, then let's just be consistent with that. There are 70 countries or territories that in some way, shape, or form do punish homosexuality, and they should be included in that list of countries that are barred for sponsorship. But even if that's too broad of a condition, there are 11 countries that have a capital punishment towards homosexuality. That includes Yemen, Iran, Brunei, Mauritania, Nigeria, Saudi, Afghanistan, Somalia, Sudan, and Qatar, which is hosting the 2022 FIFA World Cup. And interestingly, and not surprisingly, pretty much every single brand in the world will be sponsoring or trying to sponsor the FIFA World Cup. If country of origin is a reason to ban sponsorship based on those values, we should be consistent across the board. Number two, and this is where it gets pretty interesting, does ownership play a factor? So in the case of NEOM, it is owned by the Saudi Crown Prince. So in many ways, it's a state-run company. But what if it was a private company? Would it be any different? Would Saudi Aramco, one of the largest oil companies in the world, be allowed to sponsor? What about Saudi Teleco? Are we going to make a distinction between ownership if they're state-run or private or not? Does company ownership play a role in assessing the credibility of a sponsor? Number 3, NEOM is promoting a product or service that is excluding a certain type of people, at the very least, cannot participate, without fear of persecution. Can we take that principle and apply it to other things? For example, would a meat company that is really excluding the vegan community, would that be an acceptable sponsor? Would a religious group, if Christian Mingle, for example, wanted to sponsor the LEC, again, would we accept a company that promotes a service that inclusive to one group, but obviously exclusive to another? Again, these are important guidelines that we must establish. Finally, and probably the hardest one, is how much weight are we going to put into the idea that the Saudi Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman, does have blood on his hands? If so, how do we define that? How do we define what leaders have better moral character than others? If we look at Russia, would we say that Vladimir Putin also has blood on his hands and exclude certain Russian companies that are either directly or indirectly tied to the government? You can really make the argument that the United States, Britain, Israel, other countries may have, quote unquote, their leaders might have blood on their hands. It is a little bit difficult to figure out how we are going to define this with MBS. There is evidence that suggests that he's involved. How do we craft that guideline to make sure we're consistent with other countries and with other world leaders? It's a tough thing to do. Now, Riot Games has announced that they are forming a committee to create these guidelines. And the point I want to make is we can't just cancel things because we're upset. We have to understand the hurt that's caused and be consistent with how we as a community enforces it. Otherwise, it's just going to be social media mob rules. Personally, I don't think NEOM ever got a fair trial. Riot understood that this could be an amazing opportunity to bring in a new audience, a new region into the fold, and create stronger ties with Saudi Arabia and the entire Middle East. But where Riot did go wrong is not engaging their employees, their talent, their stakeholders on the deal. Where they also went wrong was canceling 24 hours later, a move that many people I talked to in the Saudi community and around the Middle East found to be insulting and humiliating. At least tournament organizer Blast, who also announced the partnership with NEOM, took the time to consult their stakeholders before making the similar decision to cancel the partnership. So here we are a month later, and I can guarantee you that this concept of people getting upset over the sponsors is really just the beginning. The only way we can control it is by creating those proper parameters and guidelines and not relying on social media outrage. The esports industry is a $1 billion industry, of which 70% of that is coming from sponsors. So some free advice to everyone who's complaining or wanting to pick and choose: be very careful, because likely they are paying your salaries. Finally, esports is the pinnacle of complaining. Everyone loves to complain about the new game, the new update, and everyone needs to be unhappy about something. So I hope this video gives you one more thing to be unhappy and complain about. I'm Ben Feferman. I do love Fortnite. Thanks for watching. And please follow us on social media and click right here or here to subscribe. And please don't forget to troll me. I love that. Nah, just kidding. I don't give a fuck.
You go under your shirt. Over your shirt.
Whoa. Which I do feel, no, here's what I should think. July 29th, Riot Games Day.
Aaron!
Okay guys, we can't have any talking. Aaron, Laura, quiet on the set.
Quiet on set, please.